Hey guys, Christina Amato here, Young Living member ID 1531704. So I am going to be doing a very important video, and it is about FDA compliance. That may not sound like anything that you know anything about or anything you have interest in, but the fact of the matter is that FDA compliance is very important for members of Young Living and even retail customers. And I'm going to talk in this video about why FDA compliance is so important, what it is, and why it matters for you as you share your products with others, especially if you are looking to cover your costs by sharing or really earn some income, okay? So this is relevant to everyone that has any products from Young Living. And I would really like for you guys to all listen to what I have to say about it, okay? So we're reading through GAMEPLAN, which is the complete strategy guide to go from premium starter kit to silver. Now, all of you have the premium starter kit if you are in my essential potential oils page. So we have that in common, and we've all started from the same place. Silver is where we are currently at, the Amatos, which is amazing. And we are so honored to be at the first leadership rank, which is silver with Young Living. And we are going to continue to that end to be silvers and then progress into gold and onwards. So we're very excited about that. But with that said, we're talking tonight about Chapter 16 of GAMEPLAN, which is a comprehensive overview of FDA compliance, what the heck that means, and why that matters for you, okay? So I'm going to launch right off the bat because we've got some really important things to cover. So you might be wondering, what? What's that? Why does FDA compliance matter? And what does Young Living have to do with the FDA? The answer is a lot. They have a lot to do with the FDA, okay? So we're going to talk about what the FDA is, for those of you that aren't quite clear on it. They are the Food and Drug Administration in the United States. The government has put them in place to oversee the productions of food and medicines, both over-the-counter and prescription, in the U.S. You may be totally on board with the FDA and what their function is, or you may not be. But regardless, they have a lot of power and a lot of say in our society. The FDA has created certain rules that companies need to abide by in order to stay in good standing with them and to market publicly. So actually, what I'm about to say applies to all companies, all network marketing companies that have products that are not what would be considered FDA certified, okay? This is not a new thing. These restrictions and regulations that we're going to be talking about are not new at all. But more recently, essential oil companies have had the spotlight on them because there have been people making claims that they're just not allowed to make according to the FDA, okay? So, making certain claims by distributors and people earning income with essential oils and multi-level marketing is a no-no, according to the FDA. All right, there are a lot of essential oil companies out there and a lot of essential oils, and most of them are totally ineffective. But at worst, a lot of them are dangerous, okay? And because of that, the FDA has made it clear that there are things that cannot be said about essential oils. The problem is when distributors are making money or earning income by saying these things and making these claims that are in fact illegal. So that's what the problem is. There's a conflict if people are making claims and then earning income off of those claims that the FDA says you're not allowed to make those. And unfortunately, because of fraud and cheap essential oils from non-reputable distillers and companies, Young Living is also restricted about the claims that they can make about their oils, despite Young Living's effectiveness and therapeutic abilities. The FDA will only allow medical claims to be made about synthetic and otherwise medicines that have been tested in their laboratories and can be recreated. Medicines that can be patented, manufactured at large, and made a profit on. So that is what the FDA focuses on. That's what they do. They oversee drugs and drugs and medicines. You may wonder, okay, why doesn't Young Living just go through the process of becoming FDA certified then? Wouldn't that make it all better? Well, I'm actually going to read to you right out of GAMEPLAN, Chapter 16 on page 142. You can read along with me if you'd like, or just listen in. I'm going to read to you what the author of GAMEPLAN has to say about that question of why doesn't Young Living just get FDA certified? It's because the essential oils would then be considered a drug because it's the Food and Drug Administration. And to get a drug, you have to go to a doctor, get a prescription, and have it filled at the drugstore. However, Young Living's mission statement is to get their essential oils in every home in the world. And not everybody has a doctor, not everybody has a pharmacy, not everybody has insurance. And if these essential oils were to be what was considered FDA certified, they would be considered a drug. And there are certain avenues to get drugs. And if you don't have access to drugs, you can't get the essential oils. Unfortunately, without that approval, though, we cannot speak about essential oils as drugs. Oils are not about curing disease. They're about supporting systems. And we'll talk more about that in a minute. So the idea behind it is, if they become FDA certified, not only would they be considered drugs and therefore have to go through certain avenues that a lot of people would not have access to, but the FDA very well could get into the very process of the oils themselves and possibly change up how Young Living does it, maybe get more involved, start manufacturing things differently. And Young Living is just like, no, thank you. We are very happy with the purity and quality of our oils, and we know exactly what we want to do with them for purity. And so the FDA has said, hey, we want to be able to get these oils into everyone's home, and so we will not certify them as drugs. That's just the short of it, okay? All right, so here are the rules. We've talked about the fact that the FDA says there's things you cannot say, and now I'm going to give you the practical application of what can and can you not say about Young Living's essential oils, because this is huge, guys. This is so important. And back when I first started with Young Living years ago, it was not as clear what could and could not be said. So I used to make claims all the time, and my uplines made claims all the time, okay? But we're going to talk about the claims that cannot be made, and I'm going to show you the importance of why they cannot be made. So here are the rules. All right, do not talk about essential oils in terms of treating or curing diseases. So it doesn't matter whether you are simply sharing essential oils with your friends, or whether you are doing this publicly on Facebook to cover the cost of your oils, or, you know, in a auditorium or something to speak to a large crowd for real income earning. It doesn't matter what the venue is. We cannot talk about essential oils for curing diseases and conditions. Do not mention conditions or disorders, okay? This was a big shift over the past few years. So we don't use words like headaches, autoimmune disorders, heartburn, inflammation, insomnia, cold and flu, allergies. These are no words. These are hot button words that are really problematic. And you will not hear me use these words because it's very important not to. Now, to further confuse you for just a moment, I will tell you that there are two products of Young Living's that can be spoken about very specifically, because there is an ingredient in these two products, which are menthol and methyl salicylate from my understanding, that the FDA has actually looked at that and said, yes, that ingredient does the following. And I'll tell you that those two products are the Thieves Cough Drops and the Cool Azul Pain Relief Cream. So there's Thieves Cough Drops and there are Thieves Lozenges, okay? You cannot talk about coughs with the Thieves Lozenges. You can talk about cough with the Thieves Cough Drops. Okay? And with the Cool Azul Pain Relief Cream, you can talk about the reduction of pain with that. But the Cool Azul Gel, you cannot talk about pain. Now, don't get too tripped up on that. It really is just a nuance in many ways. But there are two products, and so if you ever see me talking about pain or inflammation or coughing, it's probably going to be those two products, because those are the only two products that have been listed as acceptable for a very particular description for those products, okay? But I don't want to spend too much time on that. Otherwise, you will not hear me talk about coughs, inflammation, and pain. Those are just not going to happen anymore. We focus on wellness, support, boosting, promoting, enhancing. So we stay above the wellness line when you're talking about Young Living's essential oils and their products. talk about support for the body systems. So respiratory support supports healthy breathing. We talk about supporting the neurological system, promotes proper brain function and mental clarity, etc. Now, here's the thing. Some people are like, I don't know how to talk about the body like that. I don't really understand the body systems. Well, my recommendation to you as a wellness advocate or someone who wants to learn how to live a healthier lifestyle, now is a really good time to learn some of that, okay? Learn about your musculoskeletal system, spine, your joints, your bones, your muscles, okay? Learn about the immune system. It's so important in the winter months to support your immune system. Talk about wellness and support. All right. Also, if you can buy a product at a drugstore, don't talk about an oil for it. So don't say, instead of your off bug spray, use purification blend. That's a no-no, guys. If you can buy it at a drug store, the FDA probably lays claim to it, and they are not interested in you mentioning outright that you can replace the items with essential oils, and because you'll be taking sales away, all right? All right, also, when you're talking about all the amazing cleaners that Young Living has, the Thieves line, okay, household cleaners, the sprays, the hand purifiers, we cannot say things like dis or anti. So we cannot talk about disinfectant or antiviral. There's none of that. No antibacterial, no antiviral, okay? Or anti-inflammatory. These claims have not been approved by the FDA, so we cannot say them about Young Living's products. So the FDA has not taken Young Living's products and put them to the test in their laboratories and run their own, because they haven't, the FDA is not going to be like, yes, stamp of approval, because they haven't tested Young Living's products. So why would they put their stamp of approval and say, yes, it is effectively antiviral? It's just not going to happen, okay? So we can't say those things. Sarah Harnish, out of the book, says, don't live in the land of sickness. Live in the land of health. You need to learn a new language. And like I said, it is the time, guys. If you just don't quite understand what the musculoskeletal system is, it's time to start looking it up. Pick one system of the body, do a little bit of research on it. What is the endocrine system responsible for? Okay, that's one that people are like, I don't know. Okay, what does an endocrinologist do? You might know. Endocrine system is largely responsible for hormones and energy. These are good things to know. It may seem very limiting and a bit overwhelming, and I totally understand that, all right? Especially because I used to say all these things years ago, and then I had to learn an entire new language to focus on wellness and compliance. But I'm going to give you some really practical tips on how to stay compliant wherever you are and however you're sharing your essential oils and products. 1, only share graphics from my Essential Potential Oils page or Young Living's website directly. There are so many graphics out there on Pinterest, on Google Images that are not compliant. And there are actually some that were Young Living's that were compliant years ago or even a year ago that are no longer compliant, because always there are updates and things that need to be said and done to make sure that we're staying compliant. I'll give you an example. The white labeled Vitality bottles that now come in the premium starter kit, the ones that are labeled for dietary use, that's what the Vitality line is, you can no longer show a lemon essential oil and say, I take a drop of this in my water. You now have to hold up a white labeled Vitality lemon and say, I put a drop of this in my water. So again, it may seem like a nuance, but you cannot say that you take internally the regular lemon because the white labeled lemon is what's for internal use. So there are graphics from 2 years ago before the Vitality line was created that, hey, she's got a bottle of lemon in her hand. She puts a glass of, drop in a glass of water. You can't even share that because that's not compliant anymore, okay? So, but you don't have to remember all of that. Just remember, okay, I'm going to pull graphics from Young Living's website. I'm going to copy and paste, upload it on my Facebook page, or send it in an email, or send it in a Facebook Messenger. And I know that those graphics on there are compliant because Young Living has a team of lawyers that have gone over and over with the fine-tooth comb to make sure that their graphics are compliant, okay? 2, when you're sharing your essential oils, either on your Facebook page or in Facebook Messenger with a friend, or if you have a Facebook page for essential oils, do not post links to articles, because the FDA actually says you are responsible for whatever is embedded inside of that link. That's how far this goes, guys. So if there is non-compliant information somewhere within that article, we are responsible for that, okay? Links can take people to undesirable places. That's just the truth. I mean, the internet is just a deep web of graphics and pictures and links and articles galore. You can click on one and click on another and click on another, and 3 hours later, you don't even know where you are. So don't include links unless it's something directly to Young Living's website or something that you know for a fact is compliant. If you guys ever have any questions about compliance, stop, ask your upline, or ask me if I am your direct upline and say, how does this look? Take a screenshot of something you see on Facebook, copy and paste it, upload the photo and send it to me. Always run it by an upline before you share it yourself. 3, this is big, guys. If you like something on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter or whatever, you are linked. If you like something, you are saying that you agree and that it has your stamp of approval. But be thorough in looking at posts or articles before simply clicking that you like it, okay? Like, some people are just like junkies. They're like, cool, like that picture, yeah. And what you don't know is that Facebook has the right. That's what we sign away in our Facebook waiver that none of us read, is that Young Living or Facebook can advertise, hey, did you know Christina Amato liked that? And I can tell you that there are companies that I'm like, oh, that's cool. That girl from high school that I'm friends with Facebook on likes that company, or liked that graphic, or she likes that pair of athletic pants or whatever. Facebook has the right to advertise to everyone that you like the following, or that you like an article, or you like something like that. So if you like something, you're linked. It is the same to the FDA if you like a non-compliant picture, as though you yourself posted that non-compliant picture. Okay, the culpability is there in their eyes. 4, when you're writing posts or advertising or sharing, don't imply anything, okay? We cannot imply. The FDA and its lawyers, they actually have people whose sole function is to search and find non-compliance. Seriously, like, the FDA is very, very serious about this, okay? So don't imply, don't rhyme, don't be like, smydrophralgia, because you may not use the word fibromyalgia, but you may be hinting at it in the worst way or rhyming to be funny. Well, the implication is there. You have implied that you were talking about fibromyalgia, and the FDA doesn't care. They will look at your intent, okay? Don't talk about the oils as medications or drugs. Don't advertise them as a replacement for eczema cream, for painkillers. No, guys, okay? Just cannot be done. 5, this is the 5th and last one. Do not ask leading questions. So sometimes when you're generating conversation or interest on Facebook or in your groups or something like that, it might be tempting to be like, hey, what are you using your Panaway blend for today? Well, that is a leading question, and it is probably going to have a disastrous effect, because even if you yourself understand compliance, most of your downlines may not. And so some people may say words like pain or whatever, and then you have to be responsible to delete everything, and just don't do that to yourself, okay? So don't ask leading questions, or don't say on your Facebook page, what condition do you need resolved in your life? I am a Young Living distributor and I can help you solve your health problems, okay? Don't do it. Just don't do it. Every single thing that you post on social media or in your Facebook Messenger, etc., is fair game for the FDA, especially when income is involved. So we have signed away things on Instagram and Facebook and stuff like that. We have said, yeah, we're cool to do this publicly, whatever, you have access to my contacts, whatever. Everything can be pulled up if there's ever a question, if the FDA ever has a question about things that you post or whatever, they can easily look into your messages. So delete stuff, guys. Go back and delete stuff. You know, take an hour or so and just go delete all that stuff that you know is not compliant, or the things that you're a little bit on the fence about or whatever. All right. I also wanted to say that don't assume that everything that you see your upline post is compliant, because we're all still learning. And like I said, there are nuances sometimes, and sometimes you forget, oh shoot, that was not a vitality oil. I shouldn't have posted that, okay? So just because you see somebody post something on their public Facebook page, even if it's a friend of yours that also does Young Living, unless you know for a fact that it's compliant, don't repost it, because we all make mistakes, and all of us have posted things that are a little bit iffy, maybe that imply something, or that are just outright not accurate as far as up-to-date compliance goes. I'm going to read to you something else, okay? So this is probably where people get tripped up the most once they understand the basics of compliance. I'm going to read to you right out of Sarah's book. I'm just going to read it to you, okay? So there is another way that you can get confused and speak non-compliantly and not even know it, and it's called oil application. There is one more trick to sharing correctly, and it's the hardest one to master. So I recommend you lean on the experts, okay? We know that there are 3 ways to utilize essential oils: topically, aromatically, and internally for dietary purposes. And sometimes we use one oil in multiple ways, right? But that does not make sense to the pharmaceutical world. You cannot take an antibiotic capsule and smear it on your skin. So the FDA says that you can only talk about one use for each oil. It's either topical, aromatic, or digestive. So I'm going to stop right there, okay? So you have to talk about the oils either as topical use or internal use. So that is why you have a lemon essential oil and a vitality lemon, because the FDA has said it doesn't matter to us if it's the same product. You have to label it differently, because we don't understand or appreciate you trying to say that someone can utilize lemon essential oil topically, aromatically, and internally. That doesn't make sense to us, and that's not how we do things with what we create. So they have caused Young Living to then say, fine, we will create a dietary line, and it's the same lemon essential oil, but we'll just label it differently, okay? So that's what the white vitality line is. All right. A handful of the oils can be talked about in 2 ways. If you talk about taking lavender internally, you fall out of compliance, because that's listed as topical by the FDA. So you can take lavender oil internally if it has the white label, okay? What you do with your essential oils in your own home is totally your prerogative. But if you are advertising or telling somebody what can be done with this label or that label, you have to go with what's on the bottle, okay? So if you talk about taking lavender oil internally, you must be advertising a white lavender vitality label oil either in your picture, or as you're talking about it, you need to use the word vitality. Young Living has made it easy for you to know how to speak compliantly. There's actually a member resources tab when you sign into your virtual office, and there is some information there on compliance, okay? Young Living has a letter from Gary Young about compliance, and there's a bunch of stuff in there. So that is the white vitality dietary line. Is you can talk about taking those internally. And then the regular labeled orange, yellow, green, blue, etc., that is topical. All right, I hope that clears that up for you. So it may seem like a nuance, but if you're standing there holding a picture of orange oil or whatever, and you're saying, I like to use this to make homemade chocolate that tastes like orange, well, it's got to be the white vitality label if you are advertising it, okay? You actually may think that you're helping Young Living by being honest about their products. So this is something I've really had to wrap my mind around. And this is something I've talked to others about. They're like, wait a minute, Young Living's essential oils are so effective, I don't even care. Like, I'm just going to say whatever I want to say, or I want to say whatever I want to say. Like, why am I going to get all tripped up in this, okay? So you might think that you're actually helping Young Living by just being like, I'm just going to be honest. If they can't say it, I'm going to say it for them. Well, let me tell you something. Young Living actually says, no, don't do that. You're not helping us. We're not interested in you being a vigilante and going out there and saying all of these things. Even if it's true, you cannot make these claims, okay? It's not doing any favors for them. Everything that we say as members of the company gets put on them. It goes back, it's traced back to them, okay? Everything that you guys say in my downline on my Essential Potential team, which is generations and generations deep, it goes back to me. So you're not doing anybody any favors by just being like, I don't care, I'm just going to say things anyway because I know it's true. And the fact is, you're actually putting your own membership at jeopardy because Young Living has put in place some very specific guidelines about what they have to do if there are members that are just continuing to be non-compliant, continuing to make claims, and just don't care, okay? That is why you guys see such careful wording on my Essential Potential Oils page and on my business building page and on my personal Facebook page. It may sound a little bit silly to you, like why does she keep using the word support over and over and over again? Why is she talking about the musculoskeletal system? What the heck is that? Well, it's because there are certain ways that I have honored to be able to earn income with integrity through Young Living, okay? Because I earn income off of every single one of you guys, off of every single product sold through you by Young Living, it's a conflict for me to support that or to turn a blind eye to it. That's something that I have to take very seriously. And there are times where I cannot approve a post, or there are times where I'll have to message you and say, hey, can you change that wording? Can you focus on wellness or support? Or, you know what, there's just no way to ask that question publicly without it being a conflict. So, you know, go through your reference guide or something like that. I want to protect my business, my membership, my uplines, and Young Living by following the rules. And I want you guys to reap the benefits of following the rules as well, because I would hate for you guys to lose your membership. Because Young Living, in order to protect themselves as a billion-dollar company, they actually give you like 3 strikes. Like the first strike is like a suspension or a contact from the company. Then there's a suspension of your account, and then it's a total termination of your account. So even if you're not earning income, but you are just enjoying your 24% off, they will take that away from you and you will not get it back. So it is not worth talking about headaches and lupus and all those things, guys. Just don't do it. It's a liability. And also, you don't want someone to come back to you and say, you told me this would work for this condition and it didn't. This was a waste of my money. Or this made me sick and you said that it wouldn't. So for your own sake, for my sake, for our upline's sake, and for Young Living's sake, no more claims about diagnosing or treating. Do not talk about drugstore items. Don't talk about painkillers or prescription or over-the-counter medications. There's just no business there, okay? It's just a no, no, no. All right, so I'm going to read to you real quick on page 146, the last page of chapter 16 on compliance. And your question might be, okay, well, if I can't say all this stuff, how in the world am I going to get across the information to people? If there is somebody who needs support for specific things, how am I supposed to talk to them, or how am I supposed to get them the information they need? And that's a really good question, okay? A lot of people ask me, this is straight from Sarah, how you're supposed to educate your team on oils. The FDA does allow you to have a table of books for sale at your classes, but there are 2 rules. First, you have to keep them on a table separate from the essential oils and outside of the room you're teaching in. So you can have a premium starter kit in your home doing a class or an event, and you can have a reference guide, but it has to be in another room. It cannot be on the same table as the premium starter kit. 2, have more than 1 book for sale because otherwise you're promoting only one author. Moving on. It breaks federal law to give books away as incentive for the starter kit, but you can absolutely have them for sale. So for those of you that are growing your business, you cannot as incentive say, hey, whoever buys the premium starter kit, I'll give you a reference guide. You can't do that anymore, okay? And so, or we were never able to do that, but it's only really become clear recently. So once somebody becomes a member, if you want to support them by offering a few dollars for the phone app or offering a few dollars for the reference guide, that's totally your prerogative, but you cannot use that as incentive to sign up a new member. So teach people to fish instead of giving them fish. She said, I have found this to be a lot more freeing than answering non-compliant texts at 10 p.m. Point people to PubMed, which is a website featuring essential studies on essential oils, or a selection of reference guides. So there are websites that you can tell your downlines to go to, or you yourself to go to. Go to PubMed, go to oil-testimonials.com. You guys can do your own research, okay? So that then allows you to not have to put me in a situation, or your uplines in a situation, where you're asking about headaches or flu or anything like that, okay? So do your own research, talk to your uplines about where you can get really good reference guides from, or where you can get your own materials from, and go from there. Because the minute I open a book and issue a recommendation to you about a condition, I have crossed the line. So I ask you, out of, consideration for me and for your uplines, don't ask us those questions. It puts us in a really difficult position, all right? So non-compliance in a nutshell, there you have it. Those are all of the things, the tenets that you need to know to really get a handle on what can and cannot be said. No conditions, no treating, no attempting to cure. Just tell people where they can get information from. Talk about support. Be careful when you're liking things on Facebook. Only post things that you know for a fact are compliant. And that's good. That's a really, really good foundation. If you guys have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, thanks so much for changing the way that you're thinking and talking about these oils. And then Young Living will be successful in an even greater way, and we can support them to continue their awesome work. You guys have a great day. See ya.